If you want to get started building BI semantic models, probably the quickest way to get started is not using SQL Server itself, but using PowerPivot for Excel. So I'm going to install the add-in. I don't have it installed on this machine now. I'm just going to go to the Microsoft's website and put in PowerPivot Excel and see what I get. A few things that you need to be cautious of. One is getting the right version. So currently there are two versions available. One is Microsoft SQL Server 2012 PowerPivot for Excel and 2008 R2 PowerPivot for Excel. So make sure you get the one you're looking for. So we're covering the 2012 edition, so we're looking for the 2012 release. Second thing to be careful of, what version of Excel did you actually install? Did you install the 64-bit version, which will end in AMD 64 here, or the 32-bit version, which ironically ends in x86? So x86 referring to the 8086 chip that came out when I was just a lad and is used for 32-bit notations in Microsoft software. Second thing to be cautious of are system requirements. Do make sure you meet these. And the third thing to be really careful of there are some prerequisites that for some reason are listed way at the bottom of this article. So if you're not a fine print reader, you might miss this. You do need .NET 4 Framework 4. You need this 2010 VSTO runtime, platform update, various things. If you're running Windows 7 and you have Excel 2010, probably the only one you might be worried about is the Visual Studio 2010 tools for Office. So you might need to download that. If you need it, simply go over to the start in a new window and install that first. You can go ahead and try to install PowerPivot. If you were missing a prerequisite, you should get an error message and you can come back here and run these. Okay, so I'm going to download the version, but I'm not sure which one I need. So let me just go show you how to look. If you run Excel, File, Help, and look at this page, it will tell you that I'm running 64-bit right there. If your if your Office doesn't say that you're running 64-bit, then you're running 32-bit. So it's always good to check. To download this, I'll just click the download link. And it asks what I want to do, and I'll just click Save. Okay, so our download is just finishing up. Obviously, we skipped a little bit in there so that you didn't have to wait. If I open the folder where that was installed, I can see that there's a PowerPivot for Excel application here. And if I double-click on that, I can run it. And I'm just going to go through a regular installation application like I would do. So this is the boring part here. So I'll tell this to install, and what it's doing is installing essentially a desktop light version of analysis services that's going to be running on our system here. So I'll just keep approving everything, obviously without reading it. Okay, our installation is finished, so I'll just click the Finish button there. Now that we've installed PowerPivot, let's just confirm that it's really here. So if I run Excel, I'll notice that now I have a PowerPivot tab in my ribbon. If I click on that, I can see the various PowerPivot functions, and these are some of the functions that we'll use mainly as a user querying models, a little bit when we're doing some manipulations, but most of the interaction and the design stage that we'll use with PowerPivot is this PowerPivot window. So I clicked on the PowerPivot window icon. I got this window. It's a little bit more like an application than a window, I think, but what it's doing is providing the interface for us to design the BI semantic model, bring in data, make relationships, make calculations, and then that model that we build can be queried from Excel. And we'll wind up moving back and forth between these windows quite a lot. They put a nice little shortcut switch back to the workbook here and click to the PowerPivot window there. If I leave these maximized, then the transitions are a little less obvious. But we'll spend a lot of time here. The other thing I wanted just to point out quickly is when we installed PowerPivot and it was copying files, this is where it was putting them. So down in your program files, you'll have this Analysis Services Excel client with a version folder. And if you look through here, you have your Analysis Services DLL. So this is really the intelligence in the product that is behind that PowerPivot for Excel add-in query and the PowerPivot window.